I thought you were going to do it.
All right, I thought you were doing the introduction.
Welcome to the fucking Homeboys. We're missing Joe, man. Can you hear us? Remember that one? Can you hear us?
Oh dear. Right, everybody.
There
Hello.
You go. There's a professional.
There you go. Hello and welcome to the Homeboys. I'm your host tonight, Jason. Obviously, no Joe or Scott or Liam, but delighted to be joined in the line by Scott and Liam. All right, troops.
You did a great job so far.
How was your holiday?
Well, I'm just going to say, so I'm no long back for holiday, and I've not even been listening to any today with football, so have I missed anything?
Nah, nothing's happened, Paul. Nothing's happened.
Oh, Jesus. Aye. So, So good to get a wee hour or so blather with you guys tonight on the life and times of Celtic. So, obviously, there's a myriad of things going on at the minute between the board, between the manager. We'll leave the kind of players aside now, and the fans, and it's just getting a little bit juicy. And we did say at the start of the season, the last I said, I think he's agreed, that my biggest worry was Brendan Rodgers coming into his last year of his contract with nothing decided, and I seen it could actually all go up in smoke, and I didn't envisage anything like this whatsoever. And ironically, we've only let in one goal for the start of the season, and although the football's not been great, we're still domestically in a kind of healthy position. But we'll obviously talk about the European stuff and what's kind of led us on to where we are, talking about the current custodians of our club and the perceived lack of ambition. And I think we all agree they're definitely guilty of lack of ambition. So, I suppose we can just get right into it. And as I say, I've not really been taking too much today. I've been on holiday. I come back late, early hours of this morning. And so I've been reading things here and there. And I know, Scott, you were at the fans forum in Gracie's earlier in the week. So I don't know if we want to start off there, Scott, and you give us a wee rundown. You were representing the Homeboys there. And I believe that there was one representative for CSCs that had put their name to the sort of the movement that's happening at the minute. And what was the attendance like, by the way? How many was there? A good few hundred?
So many does the bag back of Gracie's hold?
I don't know, a couple of hundred anyway, I would say.
Well, that I don't think it's as many as that, but I'm led to believe that that was full, right? So I stood for the whole thing. There was about three or four others standing. The booths were packed. Every chair on one side were all the tables were all full. So you had Eddie Toner, who was chairing. You had Paul John from Axum. He kindly walked around. He done my job for when we done it, and he was kind of keying out the microphone to people. So brilliant on his side. There was representatives from the Homeboys. Jeanette was there from the Celtic Trust. There was representatives from supporters clubs. As you said, there was one person from each. There was fan groups were represented. Sorry, Liam, I'm getting a wee bounce back after you there, pal, so I'm muted you there. So the fan groups, there was the Irish Association, the Celtic Association, and the affiliation were represented. There was a couple of groups had more people. I mean, obviously Gracie's hosted it, and from Paul John, I'm led to believe that the staff weren't even supposed to be working, and they came out of the way to kind of help us out. So even to them, well done, Gracie's, well done all the people who chaired and hosted, well done everybody it turned out for the night. I'm a bit young for the Celts for Change and stuff. I remember it, of course, but I was just a boy, so I wasn't involved in it, which I would like to think I would have been at the time. And obviously we all know how that went. So this is all led back to I keep calling it, Jason and Liam, and I hope you agree with me. I keep calling it death by a million cuts, because as people on the outside will just see us winning and see us partying and stuff like that. But we've been doing that despite our own club. The fact your season tickets, see, I think it's a massive thing. Season tickets are cost you more, but are worth less every season. They take something from us. The jerseys come out, more and more jerseys. We get 4 training range every summer, every year. We get 4 at least jerseys come out, and the price of the jerseys go up every year. The stadium, it's we hate people criticising Celtic unless it's us. And the stadium is ran down. We hear about these things that the club propose. We hear that we're going to try for a museum. We hear we're going to try for a family zone and stuff. And it's just not happening. The communication, Jason, you were the first guy, and it was literally months after Nicholson started at Celtic. You went, I want to hear for this guy. I want him to come out and talk to us, because no matter what, I remember this, and I actually might go back and listen. I remember you were saying Don Mackay, he might have not been the right guy, he might have made an asset, but Don Mackay opened his doors to all us and let us in, and it's yet to happen again, and it never happened again. Sure, we get these invites to the fan things, as we often say, it's no use to us. We're not on the same level as these guys who are needing the content. So thank you for selling, but it's no use to us. But it's just wee things. The constant fucking about with the fans. No communication. I mean, don't get me wrong. We could be in a million times worse position. However, what have we all been told? You build from a point of strength, don't you? I mean, that's what we've always been told. And Celtic, in my lifetime, have never done it. And people see the European thing. My big pal was like, "Well, we've won all these trophies, and you don't see me moaning." I'm going, well, let's be God's honest truth about it. Seville was one of the greatest periods of my life as a Celtic fan, and we've never knocked the door since. And the Huns have been to 2 cup finals. This isn't a jealousy thing, but the Huns are proving that it's not a pipe dream to get to cup finals, to get to make an indent in Europe. It might be in a lower competition, but we've not even done that. The amassing of money, it might not make sense to anybody, but it's sickening. And then to round it all off, we get put out of Europe and arguably our worst ever result. I don't think it's arguably. I think it's our worst ever result, getting put out after that team. But the fact is, we all worried about it as soon as the season ended. And we knew it was coming. Everybody knew it was coming. As I said, we're in a cracking position as Celtic that we know come January, March at the latest, what competition we're generally going to be in. We're going to be in 1 and 2 of them. We're going, and you know what's coming up, and we still never prepared, and it's shocking. So the Celtic, and then a statement was made on Saturday night, 9 o'clock at night, and it was absolutely garbage. And this came after the meetings happened with the association. So everything I'm telling you guys, you already know. I just want to put some context. Saying we get to Wednesday night. The turnout was magic. I'll be honest, between you two guys and anybody who's joining us tonight and anybody who listens, and you're more than welcome to kind of criticise me. I'm very cynical about how this ends up. I have hope. I will give it everything that I can do to help. but I'm cynical because unlike 94 and then in the early 90s, we're up against capable people here. I mean, the ultimate target is Dermot Desmond, and this guy's a hard-nosed billionaire, and we've kind of maybe chose our targets right or wrong. We'll come to that in a second. But the targets chosen were Michael Nixon, Peter Law, Chris Mackay. So as we early on in the meeting, I'm going to paraphrase because all this is out here, and anybody who's listening, I dare say you've heard the vast majority. What I want to achieve here is I want to get Liam and Jason's opinion. So we went to the meeting. There were some excellent points raised by, do you know, I can't remember his name is Chris, I'm not sure, but a fella from RGC podcast, backed up by Harry Brady of the Celtic Underground. And both of them made the point that it's all very good fan protest. Well, Harry Brady kind of shat on the fan protest, which was a wee bit frustrating, but he came from a different side. He said we've got to go for the non-executive directors. They should be the target because they're in place. There wasn't Kevin, it wasn't Remy, it was another fella, and it wasn't Jim, so it was the other guy, whoever that, I don't know, and I apologise, I don't know his name. So anyway, they made very pertinent points that Celtic aren't being run correctly. Celtic are breaking corporate structures and corporate ways, norms, by our non-executive directors not putting pressure on the executive directors, because the non-executive directors, by all accounts, should be in place to question them and keep them right, whereas we seem to have a cabal, we seem to have mates who are in that position, and our shareholders are thus having too much power, which they shouldn't. There's also an insinuation that Lindsay Train is in cahoots with Dermot Desmond himself, which again would break corporate governance and stuff. So these guys made this point, and I thought it was a really great point, and I hope these guys are involved going ahead because they're talking about stuff they know. I don't know it, so I am ceding to them that they're the guys. The Green Brigade and the Ultra Boys come up and they spoke their part, and they're long in the tooth. They've done all this. They gave their experience. They were put. And the idea of the 12-minute thing, or the late walk-in, came from Smiddy off of the Salt Market bus. Smiddy, the singer, as well. Great guy, loves him on. So he brought that up. So there's some great ideas. Jim, the famous Jim Orr from Save Our Celts, he made his point, and it was, again, another excellent point. I kind of piggied on the back of that, was he asked the question, we've got a load of things here, but a load of things are our problem. Are we going to go in? Are we going to support this? Are we going to boycott? They're ours. What do we actually want for them? And that was really good, because it's really easy for things to get fragmented and people looking at the wrong thing. I keep noticing on the huddle board, and the big Mark, he keeps going, and we should be demanding that the youth setup gets overhauled. And see, to be honest, you want to be kind of stopping him and going, forget that. Don't bring that up again, because as soon as you bring that up, you're taking the argument away from where it should be. And I think we've got to have a definitive what we want. See, I kind of asked it without asking it, because I didn't think it was the right time to ask it. See if Dermot Desmond comes back and says, right, I'm going to keep all these guys, however, I hear you, and we're going to implement this, and this, and that. Are we willing to listen to that, or are we balls out? We need these guys out. Do you know what I mean? Is it? But again, that's for the steering group. I think that's for the leaders. So these things went on. The meeting was excellent in terms of the respect in the room for each other, and that was great. We've all been in meetings, be it at your work, where, God, listen to us. I mean, and I've got a bloody cheek. How often do we sit and we try to say something, we all talk on the tap of each other? There was none of that. Paul John kept it going. Eddie was outstanding as a chair, really, really good. He listened to everybody's point. He gave counters. He gave enthusiasms. He was really good. I was enthused by the end of the meeting. Somebody said cautiously optimistic. And the next step's huge. I made the point, just to back up Smitty, that we need to get it started now. We need to get it started this weekend. There's a lot of people kind of going, I see on the huddleboard, there's so many people want to piss on a parade before it starts. And we need to close these people out. We need to, in fact, we just need to ignore these people. And we just need to keep on keeping on. I backed up Smitty's point by I talked about Paul John was on Sky, Tino was on Sky, Jeanette was on PLZ, and all three of them, you would have thought they were professional. The way they all spoke, they spoke passionately, they spoke enthusiastically, they spoke knowledgeably, and they spoke for the heart about the club we love, and it was great. And the thing we've got on our side just now, I believe, this is all my opinion, a lot of that I do appreciate, and I'll open up to you two in a second, is that the mass media understand where we're coming from. Whereas in the past, I don't think that was always the case. There was an ulterior motive to stick us down. Maybe the support's coming from, maybe they're going to fuck it and let us in. Maybe that's what it is. But see, right now, it's on the tip of people's tongue. People want to talk about it. An example, I went on 5 Live before the Kairat game, and it was an English presenter, and he said to me, "But you've got all this money, why are you not spending it?" And I replied to him, I says, "See, business wise, we're looking great." And I went, "But I'm not a businessman, I'm a football fan." And the guy went, "Yeah, 100%. He totally agreed with me. So everybody understands. If you're a football fan, you understand where we're at. That's who does the St Mirren thing with me. Text, just ask my opinion. And I told him, and he said to me, "Scott, I hope everyone works for you because I understand it." So there is an understanding. Obviously, we're going to get booted, but we're not here to impress. We're not here for sympathy. We're here to look after our team and look after our club and make sure that it's healthy and it's right. But so basically, the meeting, in summary, I thought the meeting was very good. There was a couple of people, a couple of people saying they don't want to go in late, supporting Celtic's their life, and them supporting the team. The team really needed it now because we're struggling a wee bit. And they guys got so much respect as well. They get told that's fine. Where we've kind of got to watch ourselves, and we'll come to the walk in, whatever it's called, in due course. But there's got to be respect. There's got to be respect all the way through this. Apart from them in control, they don't really deserve respect. They deserve. Let's not be doing anything mental, but ultimately, we're trying to oust these guys. We're trying to get guys to lose their 800 grand jobs. I don't think they're going to take it lying down. But if you don't want to join the walk in, go to your seat. That's fine. Don't be giving people abuse on the way up. Equally, if you're going to stand outside, don't be giving anybody any abuse on the way in. We're all hurting Celtic fans here now. But see, right now, as I said, we're against a billionaire. We're against a load of guys fighting for their £1 million jobs and other big bonuses. And we're a team who have just come off a double. 7 months ago, we nearly beat Bayern Munich. We're not in a bad place as a club-wise, but we just need to be better for us. But if you've got any questions, you want to just fire them at me or just give me your opinion. Either one of you, Jason.
No, that was really good. But what I would say is, I think we're in a terrible place in a club-wise, because if you look at our European performances, they're absolutely disgraceful. And I know and I was one of these guys until a couple of years ago, that as long as we won domestically, that's all I really cared about. And then see, when you look at the grand scheme of things, you look at Scottish football, you look at Dundee United, Hibs had a good go at it, but eventually get put out. Aberdeen are in the Conference League. You know, we've got 2 teams in the Europa League, nobody in the Champions League. Scottish football is a fucking laughing stock. We're an absolute joke. And as a football club, Celtic, with the amount of money we've got in the bank and how we should be ran as a club, you look at people with the clubs with half of our turnover, what they're doing in the European stage. And it's just honking. And I think it's absolutely disgraceful that you look back. The last time that we were in the latter stages of a European tournament was 2003. And I was born in 71. We got to the semis in 72, obviously 1 year old. And since then, the best we could muster was a final at Europa League in 2003. And that's my 53 years on this planet. And a club the size of Celtic, it's an absolute disgrace. So if we take our tinted specs off, thinking everything's great domestically, we're racking up trebles and stuff like that. Skip pointed out a few years ago. When you look at it outside Scotland, nobody gives a flying fart about what we are doing in Scottish football. Where we make our mark is in Europe. And that's where we can prove the doubters that we're a proper football club. And see, just now, we're not a proper football club at all. We're an absolute joke. And it's these custodians that run our club that's made us into a joke. Because all they care about is being one step ahead of that lot. And then the rest of Scottish football has been basically cannon fodder for us. And you look at the players we're putting out in the park, I could manage them to win the league. Do you know what I mean? It's no fucking feather in Brendan Rodgers' cap guiding that team to win the Scottish Premier League. You're up against dunkles, you know, and it's sad to say, Hibs look as if they're getting better, Hearts look as if they're getting better, but they proved in Europe, Hibs and Aberdeen, that they're just not good enough. See, I wouldn't be surprised in a few years League of Ireland to have a better coefficient in Scotland than Europe. It's shambolic. Scottish football's a laughing stock. In Celtic, we're the leaders of Scotland. We're the team with the most money. We've got the biggest support. We're the biggest club by, in my mind, a country mile now. And we're just stagnated. And those in power, they've just caused it. And we got about Michael Nicholson. I mean, we were kind of laughing the thing, but Marty came up with the name Rimmer. The guy has a hologram. Nobody even knows what he sounds like. It's like, does he work in a broom cupboard? And does he get fucking teleported in and out the park? Because nobody knows anything about the guy. The guy's never spoke to us. He's our chief exec. And for all Law's faults, at least you heard from him when he was the chief exec. At least he would put his face out there and talk. Right, I'm not backing him up by any matter. I mean, we'll get to that later on with the Brendan Rodgers stuff. But it's criminal. And these non-exec directors, guys like Brian Wilson, what the fuck do they guys do for Celtic Football Club? And Jeanette made a great point on PLZ where the lassie said, you've got Dermot Desmond, the major shareholder. She's like, he's not the major shareholder, he's the principal shareholder, 30-odd%. How does that guy run our football club, rank and file, and make every pertinent decision to do with our football club when he only owns 30-odd%? It's an absolute disgrace the way Celtic are managed from top to bottom. It's shambolic, and they need held to account, and enough's enough. And we need things to happen here, because I was always like, better the devil you know. Dermot Desmond left, as you never know what would come out, and you might get Saudis come in, you get Yanks come in, don't care about you. Do you know what? I'm ready to spin the dice now, because we're on the road to nowhere with this crowd that's running our club. We might win the Scottish Premier League again this year. We might not. I think there's a good chance we won't, because with Brendan Rodgers at the helm and everything's kind of seemingly broke down between him and the board now. It's just, everything's just a fucking shit pit now. So anything can happen. But the way we are managed for a director level down is disgraceful as a football club. And the way we get in their transfer dealings, the way our youth set up, everything about the club is absolutely shambolic. And we need action. We need change, and we need big change at this football club. And I think the now is the right time to do it, and I'm glad the Celtic support is getting mobilised now to actually make changes, because it'd be easy enough. There's still people out there saying, why are they moaning? We're doing brilliant. I've watched a load of shite all my life, and this is amazing. And like, if that's all you care about is watching Celtic fucking romp an absolute fucking dog shit of a Scottish Premier League every year, then carry on. but the amount of money we are paying into that club every year to watch this is nothing short of disgraceful, and things need to change. So we'll get into more there. Don't know, Liam, don't know what your thoughts.
I agree with everything you've said so far, mate, and Scott as well. And I think there's a few contributing factors going on here, right? So, one, we've got something to reflect back on as a club and a support. You know, we solved this kind of similar problem back in the 90s here. You know, based on the rebellious nature of the support and kind of not willing to sit and watch the club just go down the drain there. But, you know, while we've got a template for something that's worked well before, we're in a completely different landscape just now, right? And it you know, everything was at the bottom back in the 90s there, so everything was going to be a positive change for us. As you just said there, we're kind of at the top of the game domestically here. We've won ridiculous amounts of trophies, so we're in a very different world in terms of success. We're in a completely different world in terms of corporate management, corporate governance. And probably equally as important, we've not mentioned, is, you know, we're in a position now where every supporter's got or thinks they've got an opinion that needs to be heard here. Whereas back in the 90s, you know, a small group of people could unify the sport, could take this thing forward and could be the leaders. Whereas now, you know, social media, message boards, everything else, everyone feels their point needs to be heard and needs to be taken into account and factored in, which makes a collective action pretty difficult, which we'll come back to. You know, as Scott said, it's been a really positive week on that front, but, you know, it's easy to get dissenters in there to try and kind of bring this stuff down, which is not what we need just now. It needs to be a collective, positive way to move forward. But, you know, the different ways to skin a cat, and we can't just look back to the way it was in the 90s. You know, it's not about boycotting games necessarily. That's part of the long-term strategy. It's not cash through the turnstiles where the club can hide that away and, you know, it's not visible. It's a club it's cash rich. It's got massive backers, you know. So there needs to be different ways and views about looking at this. As a club, we're pretty unique in world football in terms of our biggest rival is in the same city. We compete for all the same trophies. So, you know, people have got very limited flexibility in terms of a long-term plan for where they want to take the club to. You know, people want to talk about, I've heard people mention Bruges multiple times in the last couple of weeks as the model for going forward. Bruges didn't win the league last year, right? Imagine if Celtic don't win the league this year.
I know, we've said it before. Look at Ajax, the way Ajax built.
100%. 100%.
Wouldn't they put up with it?
Exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned earlier, like, you know, I had my strong views on the 10 road before, and it's just my own view. It's not a rollout thing, but, you know, we argued long and hard about it back in the time there. But we're a very short-sighted support base because of the fact that, you know, you've got your biggest rival on your shoulder and everyone's scarred from what happened back in the 90s and back in the period where Rangers were so successful. So, you know, people don't have even a medium-term view, never mind a long-term view. Everyone criticises the academy at Celtic, but if you bring a boy in and he has a bad game or two bad games or even half a bad game, they're absolutely vilified in terms of what they can do. You know, so would we as a support sacrifice 2 or 3 seasons and not win the league to get to where we want to get to strategically? You know, theoretically, yes, but in reality, not a chance in a million years.
If it was a stronger league, Liam, and you had,
exactly.
You had 4 different rivals that were coming at you, then you would take it in the chin.
Yeah,
but exactly. It's not like that.
No, and you know, losing the treble last season was really hard, right? And probably shouldn't say this, but a little part of you says, well, Aberdeen, that's the first trophy they've won for, like, I don't know, 20, 30 years, right? They're a big club. They should be winning trophies much more than that. It was slightly less hard to take, given it was Aberdeen and not Rangers that won that game against you. So, you know, if you were in a league where there were 6 big teams competing for trophies and winning stuff, then you absolutely could do your own thing. But, you know, using examples like Bruges or like Ajax or whatever, it's great, and lots of the things do tick the boxes we're looking for. But as a support, we need to say to ourselves, how much are we willing to sacrifice here to get ourselves to a point in time where, you know, we're willing to take a bit of a dip and a downturn in terms of what we want to do. the press conference.
Liam, to just back up your point, I mean, that comes with trust of who runs and who owns and what strategies put in place. Because right now, I mean, see, right now, we're all saying, would you gear up this season to think we might do well in whatever competition, European competition we're in next year, and would you suck up this year to allow the current incumbents? I don't think so. You know what I mean? You kind of, I know I'm agreeing with you, but there's no strategy, there's no communication there's no understanding by us.
It's a really good point, Scott, because the current board are dining out on all the domestic success we've had the last 10, 15 years there, right? And like, you know, as has been reported well, they're probably shocked by the level of vitriol that they're seeing here and the level of, you know, kind of angst amongst the support here, because they just think they're lording it over one, if not our most successful period in our club's history here. So that they're thinking there's nothing to worry about here. But like you said, the bigger picture is completely different. And these are not the people to bring us forward in that period.
I mean, the way they proved it was last season, compared to most seasons in my lifetime, with a very successful domestic and, to a certain extent, a European campaign. Because we were a ball hair off knocking Bayern Munich out the knockout round in the Champions League after qualifying at the group stages. It was a monumental performance for Celtic and Munich. We were absolutely brilliant. And you say to yourself, surely that is the firing point for the board to say, we need to back this guy now. Look what he's done here. See, we have a bit of foresight and a bit of investment in this team taken forward next year. Think about what we could achieve. And what did we get? Nothing. Absolute fucking jack shit. And towards the end of the season, our league form towards the end was terrible. We ended up losing the Scottish Cup final. So the alarm bell should have been ringing there to say, we need to bolster this team. And we're getting into one Champions League qualifier against a team we're going to be heavy favourites to beat, regardless of who it was, because all the options were we would have been the favourites against. And we probably drew the easiest out of the lot. They were a fucking pub team. And nothing, no investment whatsoever. And they gambled 40-50 million pound that we would qualify. And granted, Celtic were terrible in the game and we should have had enough. And that's Brendan Rodgers is partly to blame for me, major part of the blame. But obviously what he's gone through in the background with AIM, don't know how many targets that he'd identified that didn't cross the line and whatever. And he's went in and just everything's been a clusterfuck and we get knocked out of Europe. But at that point where we took Bayern Munich, that board sitting in mountains of money should have put that into the team to try and take us to the next stage this season, and look where we've ended up. That board are no fit for purpose. Totally not. And the bottom line is, if they didn't want Brendan Rodgers as a manager because he was getting into his last year, we'll get rid of him and get somebody else in. But that team needed investment. And what do? We go and sell Kuhn. We go and, obviously, we'd already get rid of Kyogo before the end of the season. But that's two of your main players that you're getting without. And you made the point of when you go back to the start of the season before, we've obviously Jota's injured and we don't have Matt O'Reilly for the start of last season. And it's dramatic, the fall off. And then you've got players that's in the first team, their form's dropped off as well. So the full thing was just an absolute car crash. And the board are definitely, I mean, Rodgers as well is responsible, but the board, for the most part, are definitely responsible for just dilly-dallying into this season. And I don't see anything changing with them. They'd maybe do it for one season, but then they'll pull it all in. They don't have any long-term strategic plan for us. They just mumble through from season to season, and it's scandalous, and we need change.
I think Jason, it just reflects the actual, composition of the board there. It's all accountants and financial people. Like you said, I made this point in the last pod, I don't know if you heard it or not, but we were arguably 5 minutes away and a penalty kick away from the best season since 1967. We could have won the treble last year and got to the last 16 of the Champions League. Right? I know it's subjective, but we've not. It's hard to find a better season than that going back all the way there, right? That's how close that team was, and I know we tailed off badly at the end of the season, right? But we get to the end of the season, we've sold Kyogo, like you said. We know Jota's out, right? So we're thinking keep everybody and buy three top players there. You're going to maybe lose one or two, so you're thinking, well, maybe 3 or 4 good players. You've got 70 million in the bank. You've got all the Champions League money coming. I mean, how easy is that for a board or a group of people running a football club to say we could spend 20 or 30 million now without even blinking an eye, without any risk associated to it at all, other than the players not maybe working out, but no risk to the club, no risk to anything else we've got at all, and we can always punt a player or two if it comes to it.
100%.
It's never going to be an easier opportunity than what you've just faced here.
No, and it's gut wrenching to where we are now, and I'm just glad that the fans for the vast majority have came together. It'll never be 100%, and I've got no dreams that the Celtic fan base would ever be united in a situation like this. But if we get the majority on board, which I think we probably will, but it's got to be done right, as you said, Scott, earlier on. It's got to be done decently. It's got to be done without abusing people that's no on our side, sort of thing. It's got to be done democratically, and it's got to be an agreement with the majority, and it's got to be run correctly.
It does, Jason. It's really important. Like I said earlier, it's a different landscape now, and you see fucking people talking about scabs and this and that, right? Fucking arseholes, man, right? This is a long game here. This is not back to where we were back in the 90s here, right? Lots of the support are older. Lots of the support are quite happy with things just being domestically successful. You can't just fucking batter people through this in a week or 2 weeks here. Do you know what I mean? So all that kind of patter is absolute nonsense, man. It needs to be a controlled, long-term way of getting to where we want to get to here, and it needs to be unified with the support as well.
Yeah. And as Scott said as well, you've got guys that are on 800 £1 million a year or whatever. They're not going to just get up and say, right, okay, boys, you've got me, I'm off. So, yeah, we've got to do this right. And obviously, we'll get to Sunday, but Sunday, I think it's a good idea with the 12th man, and it's to get a point across, and it'll get the media talking about it. But hopefully, we'll get a good response, and the vast majority will stand outside respectfully and peacefully, and then go in and support the team on the 12th minute. And I certainly will, and I would hope everybody on our bus would do the same. But if some of them don't, that's up to them. But it's like small steps, but we're going to have to get, as a support, we're going to have to get organised and do this correctly, because we don't have we've got power because we are the inverted commas customers, and if you've got a business that solely relies on your customers, and let's face it, Celtic solely rely on us. They've got the sponsorship money and that coming in, the prize money you get in Scottish football is next to nothing, right? So we are the money maker for Celtic Football Club, So we do have the power, but we've only got the power if we're united, and it's never going to be across the board. But if we get the majority united and we make strategic decisions, then I do believe we can force the board's hand and get what we're looking for. Yeah. And what we're looking for is we're not looking for the world here. We're looking for clear and concise dialogue. We're looking for changes, and we're looking for changes the way the club's ran for the betterment of Celtic. It's not like a revolution, but I do believe the people that are running Celtic at present aren't fit for purpose, and we can sugarcoat it all we want, and they can get crack contractors in to teach them how to do their job correctly and stuff like that. But it's too late for that. They've had years to get this right, and it's just every year is a total clusterfuck. I mean, you look at these stats for us playing Champions League qualifiers, the amount we've won compared to the amount we've lost. And Scott, you would know better than me, but I would think the only real time we went into a Champions League qualifier as a massive underdog was the time against Arsenal. Every other time, it was a perfectly winnable tie. And our record is just absolutely atrocious. And the money that was available if we were to win those games and get into the Champions League was like, it's totally defining money for a football club. And we've just pissed it up against the wall through mismanagement.
I'd say I mean, you go back. So if we look at the Champions League, so you've got, when we first came to the Champions League was 1998, 99, we get put out after Croatia Zagreb, Dynamo Zagreb, ended up getting doing, right? So you take that one, I mean, we were comprehensively pumped in that one.
Well, we beat them 1-0 at Celtic Park, and then went over there. It was an absolute goal.
Big Reggie, yeah. Right, and then you beat Ajax to eventually get into it for the first time. Great, tremendous. We could beat Afi Basel the following year.
That's when we got to Seville.
Yeah. The next year, we put out MTK. We ended up, we finished third in the group. We ended up in the UEFA Cup. We went to Villarreal and stuff like that. Then we were straight into the Champions League the following year. And then a year after that, we get pumped off the media 4-0, 5-0, beat them 4-0. Next year, we're in it, straight in it. And then we'll get Spartak Moscow, 2007-08. We put Spartak Moscow. So at this point, it's
actually pretty good.
Right. 2009-10. You've beat Dynamo. You've come back 1-0. We beat Dynamo Moscow, but then, as you say, we get our arse felt off the Arsenal, which it was so. I mean, it just shows you how Celtic fans in it, because we were all raging about that, but Arsenal was 5-1. You know what I mean?
Far better.
Next year we'll get Braga. We get beat 4-2 off of Braga, all the two legs, and then we get beat off of Utrecht. And then we get beat off of Sion, but fortunately, Sion cheated. 2012, we'll beat Helsingborg, so we're in the Champions League. And then the following year is the Shakhtar Karagandhi one. So 2014-15, we beat Reykjavik, Legia Warsaw, who beat us, but they made a fuck up as well. So not content with that, we draw 1 each away with Maribor, and we get beat 1-0 at home, and we get put off in Maribor of Slovenia. So you've missed out, you're in the Europa League. The next year, Champions League, 2015-16, we'll beat Stjarm, we'll beat Karabag, we get beat off in Malmo. Fucking shambles. Brendan Rodgers turns up, we'll beat Lincoln Red Ips and Stana, and the Hapoel Beersheva we're in. The next year, we'll beat Linfield Rosenborg, Astana again, we're in. And then the next year's the AEK Athens. Following year for that, Cluj, we get put out. Following year for that, Ferencvaros, we get put out. Following year for that, Midtjylland, we get put out. After that, we're straight in for 2 years. Or 3 years, should I say, straight in. And then obviously this year, carrying up. So, it's fucking grim, I say that.
It's absolutely disgraceful, a club of our size. Disgraceful.
It's, I think you're saying, I mean, I know everybody's kind of biting back at me when I say we are well run, but in terms of, like I've said before, see Dermot Desmond. I know why Dermot Desmond wants Peter Lawwell at Celtic, because he's putting table. He's keeping us. He kept us sufficiently happy. Don't get me wrong. This is all bubbling under. That's why everybody kind of loses the plot. Right? That's why everybody kind of loses the plot. It's because the angle's there. It's always there. And we're getting treated like fucking clowns. But he's kept us relatively happy. He's put trophies on the table and he's making money for all the shareholders, which ultimately they'll all be patting big Dick Dastardly in the back, won't they? So as much as we are saying, we're missing out in millions and this and that, doesn't matter in none of them. They don't look at our results. They don't care about our results. Somebody tell a story the day about Celtic playing in Dublin, fucking about 10 mile away from fucking Dick Dastardly's house, and he went out golfing. Never came and watched Celtic. So we're just an investment to him. So in terms of as a business, we could be making more, but we're not making a loss. We're in Scottish football. We're making a profit for the shareholders. In any other industry, that's magic.
Yeah.
But what you guys have got to remember, we're a football club.
Yeah.
We're a football club. Yous are fucking ripping the hole out it. And as I said, see all the stuff that happened during COVID, that all went mental, and everybody was quite surprised by how vociferous it was. That's what happens when you treat people like shit. Marty brought up a thing after we were done talking last week, and it was very true what he said. See the anger. There's so much anger in the world in general. Everybody's raging, and we are equally raging, but our club are treating us like dicks. So we're all raging constantly. We're 2 results away from fucking losing the plot constantly because we can't trust our club to do the best by us. That's ultimately, I think, where it comes down to. We've got a club who just see us as a bank. We just go and keep taking for it. And it's one day it'll get to the point. And the thing is, I bet they still don't overly worry about it, they know, because they've been through this. And they went and got Ange, and Ange kind of papered all the cracks for them, and everything looked good. And then Brendan done it beforehand. But why don't they just fix it? Why don't they do it properly? Because I still think Celtic could be making a profit for all these knobs, but we could be doing it so much better. Liam touches on it. Everybody criticises our fucking youth. Everybody. It's an absolute shambles that Celtic can't produce players. It's a shambles. Fling in the European results that we don't seem to care about. It's garbage, man. It's garbage. And that, again, to summarise, Jason, I mean, I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring it back to the meeting, because it was something we spoke about offline. It's been talked about in the huddle board. It's been talked about. You touched on it there, Jason. And I'd like to get you guys' opinion before we move on. So there is parties who have led this so far, and they're going to be included in the initial steering group. Now, the steering group, it was interesting to listen to the RGC pod today. If you've got guys and women out there who are good in their profession and they can be a benefit to what we want to do, then it's definitely that they should be involved in it. Again, I'm talking about the boy for RGC. Seems that he's got a strategy. He's been at this level. He's dealt with people at this level. I would love to get involved for my enthusiasm. However, I don't think there's any benefit apart from that enthusiasm for me to be involved. So I'll take a step back and I'll be a soldier. And I hope there's a whole load of, because I see loads of people put their hands up, but we need to get the right people in place to take us forward. We can't have sniping. I mean, I don't know if it's out of place to be talking about the Celtic Trust thing. So this talk, the Celtic Trust seemed maybe a wee bit ambushed at their AGM recently. It's I think Jeanette has suggested that if anybody wants to talk about it, she'll gladly give information, but she felt there was almost an ambush attempt. We need to get rid of all that crap. We need to get beyond this. This is Celtic fans. I thought Hamish talked about it earlier. It was something I clocked straight away. The first report about this said the Green Brigade led, and we need to stand on that straight away. The Green Brigade are involved, of course they are. They're so important to this club, I believe. Same as the boys, same as the association, same as all the clubs, same as every guy who's got a season ticket and goes and supports a club. We're all equally important. And there might be people pushing this. However, we're all going the one way and we're all going together. And we need, Jason, just to reiterate what you said, we've got to get the right people with the right experience, the right knowledge, and the right drive in the right positions to take us all forward. This can't fall down because, as Liam says, somebody's calling somebody a scab. Well, fuck that. I'm not doing it then. Do you know what I mean? We've got to keep on keeping on, and we've got to close out all the outside noise, and we've got to make sure we've got the right people pushing us.
I totally agree, but I think it's simple enough to do, to be honest with you. Everybody, I mean, at the end of the day, the ones elected on, if we're going to create a board or whatever that's going to take us forward, like a fan elected, when we spoke about the fan advisory board, you would do it in a similar way. Effectively, everybody would stick in their own manifesto, put their own points forward with what they could bring to it, and then it would be a democratic vote. You would get everybody. So basically, say you've got 40,000 that have signed up, then you get maybe 20 have put their name forward that would like to be part of the board to take it forward. Maybe say as a group we decide it's going to be 5 people. Then everybody puts their manifesto forward for everybody, and then you get a democratic vote. Yeah. And then those 5 that are democratic elected by the majority take it forward. And regardless of whose nose is going to be to joy because they're in it or because they're in it, then it's a democratic process that everybody's put into. And then nobody can go against it. You have to then, you have to go forward as one. And as I say, it won't be the full Celtic support that'll get involved in it, but we'll need to think up something. And I'm just putting things out there, but we'll need to think up like a membership or whatever for anybody that's involved in the new Celts for change, right? And then you elect a board, and they're the guys that then speak for us. I don't think it's a difficult process, and people just need to take their pride in their nose out. If their nose is going to go to joy, tough, because at the end of the day, Liam made the point, everybody's got a voice online, and whoever gets elected there, you'll still have snipers online that decry them and everything. They need to be thick-skinned, and it's not going to be an easy ride.
100%.
But I think it's pretty straightforward. You don't have clandestine internal elections and then say, this is the group, get behind us or fuck off. That's not going to work. So you get everything out in the open, everybody puts their point across what they can bring to it, and then everybody gets a kind of ballot paper, an online vote, and you put it in there, and it's not hard to do nowadays. But the thing is, within the Celtic support, we wouldn't even need to go externally to get any advice. We've got experts in every field within our own support. There'll be people within our support that will be involved in this that can take us forward. I know them personally, some of them, and we all do. And the people that can actually drive this forward. And some people's noses are going to be out of joint, but it's got to be democratically done. And simple as that. I mean, the vast majority will just want to be soldiers, like you've said, Scott. That's what I would want to be. I wouldn't want to be in the board or anything, because it's going to take a lot of blood, sweat and tears and a lot of time and effort. But people will have the passion that will stand up there, and they'll stand up to be counted. But they just need to put their manifesto in, and we just need a bit of background, what they can bring, what their expertise is, etc. And then as grown adults, we all vote. I think it's something. I mean, I've not spoke to him. I'm just back for holiday, but I think it is as simple as that. Do you not agree?
You've made it sound simple. I don't know. I mean, like you say, you're kind of already in something ball deep. We try to get that fantastic statue up and running, and you've already kind of let us know that it's a hard shift. Putting aside your time and stuff like that. I mean, it's something I run the Wayne's football team, and I know how much that fucking takes up of my time. So like I say, I'm a soldier. The way you said it here sounds bang on to me. but I don't know. There's a lot of people with a lot to say.
There's a different angle here, completely, isn't there? Right? This isn't, like I said, it's different to the 90s in terms of where we are. Right? We're supremely successful. We're cash rich. These guys, if they wanted to, they could just dig in and sit in there for the next 2 or 3 years, take whatever financial hits are going to come their way, and we'd still be in a positive position financially there, really, right? And it's not like Asda or Tesco where you're suddenly going to go, right, fucking, everyone stop going at Tesco, start shopping at Asda, right? That's not going to happen because it's our club, it's our football team. We're always going to stay and support them. So I just think there needs to be a much more open-minded view about how we approach this, because there's got to be lots of boots on the floor type activity where I think Sunday's brilliant. I think it's a perfect away ground to start this campaign from an awareness perspective, right? Because obviously we're all invested into it on a local level, but Sunday in front of the cameras, a stadium where you can stay back down the stairs, kind of for them first 12 minutes, get some flags on the seats, all that sort of stuff. You can really bring it into the mainstream in front of the Sky Sports cameras. You can do all your boots on the ground sort of stuff. But really the ultimate way of trying to remove people from this board or from this exec is going to probably be in a corporate governance type way or in a different way. So it's got to be a combination of different skills and different approaches that's going to get us there. We're in a completely different environment these days in terms of how we're going to do this. So, hopefully everyone can embrace that and bring all that together to move it forward.
Aye. But as I say, I don't think it's going to be difficult to get the right executive body in place to take us forward. It just needs to be done democratically.
But it's still the how, Jason. It's still the how. I mean, how can you physically remove these people, right?
No. I'm not talking about removing the board. I'm talking about getting the movement in a correct place where we can then, the board or the executive or whatever, the fan elected group can then make decisions and feed it back to everybody. And because the thing is, you can't, every decision that has to be made can't be made by a vote for 40,000 people. You have to put a level of trust in the people, I would say, that's going to be taking this forward as a collective. And I think that would be the way forward. And obviously they have clear and concise communication to everybody. You get a forum set up that we're all members. You need to have a membership to I don't know how it's going to work, right? But to get it up and running, and then I think as a collective body, you hold a hell of a lot more power, because then you can plan further things like we're going to be doing on Sunday, and to bring as much attention to it. Because let's face it, the Celtic board won't like this attention, because this will get the heart of the mainstream media, and they'll be asking them questions, and they won't be able to avoid it. And if they've got a disgruntled fan base that they solely depend on for their income, that's not playing ball with them, then you can force change. Everybody can force change.
This is a point that Smitty brought up, Jason, and just pertinent to exactly what you said there, is that somebody says you can't win this, and then Smitty went, no, this mob don't like being embarrassed.
Yeah.
He says the Kyrat game, people were singing sack of board, and the camera sat on him, and you could see the look of what the fuck on their faces. And as you rightly said, it was, you've been calling him Rimmer for Red Dwarf, which is pretty damn good. I'm going to hear you.
I come up with Rimmer.
I stick a wee fucking H on his head. I like the one, was it the Four Tims, Big Shy Michael? I thought that was, I couldn't stop laughing at that. I mean, see these podcasts, right? I've never, I listen to us. Sometimes I kind of gave Axe on a bin for a while. I listened to Cell Exchange before they kind of went behind the paywall. But see, this week I went body deep into every one of them, and they're all on the ball, and everybody's pushing together. Do you know what I mean? It does really. But back to my point, it means that Michael Nicholson is going to be hit and people are going to be wanting to talk to him and he's going to have to come out from behind his wee stone and he's going to have to give decent answers. He can't be doing his fucking AI answer like he done on Saturday night. Do you know what I mean? That absolute fucking piece of...
That was definitely done for ChatGPT.
Definitely.
By the way, it was like 8,000 words saying absolutely nothing.
It's like one of your COVID pods.
Aye, but there was no substance to anything that they said. And by the way, they told lies in it as well. I mean, see this, like, financial fair play. You're talking about turnover versus spend and all. Absolute lies.
That's bullshit.
I mean, somebody, I can't remember, I hadn't been on the huddle board for weeks, but I went on and somebody actually says, he says, I would have more respect for Michael Nicholson if he just turned around and says, listen, boys, I was fucking mad with it at a party and I fucking said that. He says, fucking, you know, like, it's like, I couldn't believe that what I was, because I was reading it and I read it again and I'm like, what the fuck are they actually saying? And it was like, I mean, I still can't get my head around what they actually meant. And it was like,
yeah. So let's have a little kind of segue on that one then, right? So we assume Nicholson's a person that's fucking fronted that statement last week, right? Put it out on Saturday night, and this is a group of people that can't deal with, you know, public challenge here or the supporters challenge at all. Hence why they've done it in the way that they've done it. But it was interesting today in the press conference, and we probably should come on to that now. I thought Brendan Rodgers was outstanding today in the way he kind of called people out very subtly in his own sort of way. But he still seemed to be quite a protector of Michael Nicholson and was kind of pretty supportive of him. Which, does that tell us that, you know, Nicholson's just basically a complete puppet for DD in the background? He's doing everything he's told to do. He's got no kind of autonomy at all in what he's doing there. It's a really strange thing.
He kind of protected DD as well. He mentioned him as well,
which is a bit bizarre. I mean, he made reference to him working on Christmas Day and whatever, and you're like, this guy bleeds Celtic. He works Christmas Day and he can't get a fucking single deal over the line, which is
aye. But the thing is,
weird.
Maybe he's just shit his job.
Aye. I mean, I was in a place. I was doing process improvements in an industry a long time ago, right? And there was a chief exec that I was talking to, right? And so I was going through all the teams and seeing what they were doing, etc. And then she pulled me into the meeting and she said to me, right, you've been in here a couple of weeks now, so what teams do you think are the best and what ones are ran the best? I says, well, that one over there. And she was like, really? And it was her, the full department. She ran the full department. And I was like, aye. I can't believe you're saying that. She says, see that lassie over there? She says, what do you think of their team? I says, that's the worst. And she says, no, that can't be true. She says, she works 60 hours a week. See that lassie that runs that team? She doesn't do an hour more than her paid hours. And I says, aye, she's fucking good at her job. And she's like, what do you mean? I says, well, the lassie that's coming in working Saturdays and Sundays, I says, that's because she can't do her normal work during the week. She's fucking incapable of doing it. Oh, I never thought of it that way. She just thought the more hours you work, the more dedicated you work to the company. And I'm like, no, I says, that lassie there that does her 40 hours has fucking got everything nailed. I says, everybody in her team knows exactly what they're doing. And obviously I'm not going into great detail about what they were actually doing, etc. But she couldn't get her head around that the person that worked 60 hours was less productive than the person that worked 40 hours. I says, aye, she's organised, she knows what she's doing. Oh, and she's like, Mama, you're the fucking chief exec here. You fucking didn't get that. And people can misconstrue people working long hours, etc., that they're producing the best for your company. It's no. It's people that are doing the job right. And he's certainly not doing the job right. Can he be? But I thought back to the interview as well, when Rodgers says, I'm the manager, the coach, what else did he didn't say sports scientist, but he says I'm the mental therapist. That wasn't the phrase he used, but what phrase did he use? And it's just basically to say he fucking does everything. You know, whereas you look at other football clubs, they've got full teams behind them that do certain stuff. But Rodgers is seemingly doing a lot. But obviously Brendan is no daft and he's fucking making himself out to be a saint here, which obviously isn't the case because the team's utter fucking dung on the park at the minute. And I don't think he can put the blame solely on the board because he's still got a team capable of getting through that game against Kyra, albeit the board took a fucking massive gamble, but the team should have been good enough. So I'm not letting Brenders off with that. But he's certainly been let down by the board.
He's clever enough, Jason, to know when to manipulate a situation, right? He's an expert in that situation, right? And it's not just the Kyrat game. Like we said, I think with 5 derbies now, he's not won a game in 90 minutes. So Johnson away last year, Aberdeen, the qualifiers, been absolute garbage, right? But I think everyone's willing to just wipe the board with that, myself included, and just say, look, if we go out Sunday, put performance on, and the team start to ignite themselves, then everyone will be behind him. You know, he's going to benefit from the fact that the Huns are shite and the focus is on the board. So, you know, he has to take advantage of that situation and get the team up and running, get the team firing and move us forward. And if he does that, then, you know, I think he'll be given a bit of a pass just now. But, you know, the game on Sunday is so important that we need to see not just a win, but a performance and a bit of fire with the new players and some of the players that have been there a little bit too long now and, you know, maybe wanted to go, Maeda and the Tatties who's getting a bit stale, CCV, etc. So we need to see that kind of elite manager performance of him in the next few months to bring the team forward. But
do you think they will?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
see to me, right, and this might sound mental, right, but I can't see us removing the board anytime soon, right? Maybe we can. I don't think so, right? So if there's a relationship breakdown between the board and Brendan Rodgers, and he's in his last year of his deal, and they're not willing to give him a new deal, then you kind of need to get rid of him.
Yeah.
You know,
I said that 2 weeks ago. Yep, that's what we should have done 2 weeks ago.
He is an elite level manager, but if things aren't going well for him and his nose is out of joint, then that's going to transcend to the players and it's not going to be a happy place. And our full season's going to suffer and fall apart.
And we've seen it before as well. We've seen it, you know, we've seen it with him already.
So
first time round.
But in an ideal situation, so he's obviously made a call today, and do we all think it's Lowell that he's talking about, or could it be Brian Wilson or one of the non-exec directors or whatever? I think it was Mark that he didn't mention Peter Lowell by name when he did the interview. So
it needs to be Lowell. I mean, like
I would think so, but because it was too in your face not to be Lowell, wasn't it? Because you know, mentioning Michael Nicholson, and mentioning Dermot Desmond, and mentioning was it Chris Mackay? Who's the other guy? Who's the other board member?
Chris Mackay. Aye, Chris Mackay's the one that's getting it the new, but he never mentioned Chris Mackay, did he?
I think he did. I think he mentioned 3 of them.
There was 3 mentioned, yeah.
Aye. So I think
I don't know who the third one was, though. There was 3, Jason, you're right. I don't know who the third one was, but...
Aye, and he specifically didn't mention Peter Lawwell, who's the name in everybody's lips when you talk about Celtic, because people still think he's pulling the strings, even though he's a chairman. You know, so... And he made reference to the last time he was here, he was warned and he wasn't going to come back, but he come back because he loves the club. Nothing to do with the fucking $3 million a year he's getting around like that, you know. Right? But, aye. So, you would think it must be Lowell, but I don't know. But could it be somebody like Brian Wilson or something like that? I don't know. See, with the plenty of contacts in the press.
He's a fucking dick.
I mean, they every one of the non-exec directors should be marched out the door.
Yeah.
I mean, what did they bring to your club apart from taking a wage?
Surely, you know what? Surely that maybe Brendan's taken us to the first key point in this whole struggle here, right? If someone's not marched out the door in the next week on the back of his press conference today, then the fucking game's a bogey anyway, from his perspective.
Aye. That by the word Jim Brown just says psychologist. That's the word they said. He says I'm the psychologist in the team as well. So
Jim actually said physiology.
Physiology, all right. Right with that. I've not got my specs on, but he said the word psychologist. But you've got a point there, Liam. And another thing as well, we've just heard as well, Brendan's actually standing outside in Sunday wears for the first 12 minutes. So, we need to get Usher down at the dugout after 12 minutes. What a roar he'd get then.
Imagine that. But I tell you, that's a frustrating thing. I think we do need a figurehead. And I mean, immediate guys that come to your head are guys that rely on the club for their fucking. You know what I mean? Because like Tom Boyd would be my number one. You know what I mean? You say to Tom, you put a bit of support behind this, Tommy, but you could never lean that on him.
No, because they've got a livelihood. They work for the club.
Mate. Hey, I just said that. I mean, I know the script, but do you understand my point? I said we could really do with like a figurehead that could unite everybody. Because I mean, I imagine Tom Boyd come out and says, "Do you know what? I'm with you guys." Nobody's going to be sitting going fucking Tommy Boys up.
But just go back to that point there, Scott. So I listened to Clyde for 5 minutes. I was going to the shop earlier, right? And Hugh Keevins, obviously, who's on Clyde with Hannah, you know, who leaked the story from the Sun there. He was fucking absolutely vilifying him. Not him personally, but saying Celtic needs to fucking find out who's made this statement and get him out the club today, sort of thing. Now, he would normally be the kind of whole defender of the press, saying you can't reveal your sources, all that sort of stuff. Keevins was fucking livid about it, saying they need to fucking sacrifice somebody right now.
It is a mad situation we're in, Liam, innit? Because you've got Michael Stewart, who I think's one of the better guys in Scottish football. Michael Stewart's going shamble. James McFadden's sitting going, that's a fuck. I mean, what were they thinking putting that out? Do you know what I mean? And I know they kind of might have. They're no as fucking dying the will as other people supporting their own teams, but we've got them because you know yourself, the longer it goes, the less interested people are going to be about it. So we've kind of got to hit them the new. We've got to try and embarrass them. We've got to do anything. I mean, I had loads of ideas, but again, I didn't think the Wednesday night was an idea night. Wednesday night was about kind of getting the message and getting everybody aligned. And then, like I say, I think the steering group's next. And then I think we all lob our ideas. Because I don't think any idea is a bad idea. Just lob them all in as soon as we're ready. And we can tick that. That'll know what, that'll work. That'll know what, that'll work. Like I say, I mean, there's see this Sunday, I was going to put on a huddleboard, but again, the Green Brigade have been through this numerous times. So who the fuck am I to sit and tell them? But I would hope somebody has elevated themselves with a megaphone and just reminding people what they're there for. I mean, whenever we get this group set up, I'd be sending weekly, monthly reminders to everybody to retweet what the board have done to us over the last 10 years. Just what they've took away from us. Do you remember when you used to get this game on your season ticket? You don't get that anymore, and your season tickets went up 20%. I mean, stuff like that to remind people what we're fighting for, because it is easy, especially if Celtic starts struggling, people will fall away. I know it'll anger more people, but people will fall away because they think, I've got to support Celtic, I've got to go and support my team. And if Celtic actually do well, people will fall away. It's going to happen. It's just we've kind of got to be resolute and remember what we're doing, innit? And that's how I kind of think. I
I think the good thing about this is we're doing it while we're top of the league. So this isn't a reaction of the team doing shit. Because speaking to Jeanette, she always says, like, the trust, nobody cares about the trust when Celtic's winning trebles. You know, as soon as Celtic start doing bad again, people will look at the trust as a vehicle to vent their, you know, but Celtic are top of the league now, and if we win, hell knows what's going to happen at Ibrox tomorrow, but if we win at Rugby Park and put a good performance in, we need to make sure that doesn't derail this, because we need to get this done, because what's happened in Europe has been happening in Europe for nearly all of my lifetime, through the old board and through the new board, and it's different guises. Nothing's ever changed. There's never been any long-term strategy. There's never been any serious investment in the team. There has been sporadic investment in the team, and it's to dig them out a hole. But there's never been any investment for a position of strength to try and take us forward. They got Martin O'Neill in, they gave him loads of money, and I understand why that had to halt, because it was ridiculous the money we were pissing down the drain, and there was no sell-on value and whatever. That would have probably put us under as a club if he kept Martin O'Neill there much longer. But after that, Strachan comes in, starts to try and build a team, qualifies you. But there was never any serious investment. Let's get quality players in there to try and take us. And back then, when you look at the Strachan time, it was still achievable to get quality players in at half decent money. Now it's wild. You're not getting any top class players at all unless you find gems that's not been unearthed yet. So that's where your scouting network has to come in, and why you have to be a very well run club. And to a certain extent, Celtic have done really well in the transfer market, but where they've let themselves down is when they've got the big money in, they've not reinvested it in the team, they've fucking put it in the bank account. And that's what's fucked us. Or they've spread it out and got another fucking 4 projects that none of them ever work out. You know, so...
yeah, absolutely, Joyce. Just going back to that last point there, you know, like, it's for us as supporters, it's kind of we're trying to throw rocks at an ivory tower here, right? Fucking and trying to hit a window that's almost impossible to get there. You know, the manager's come out today and basically said, fucking somebody in a senior position is trying to, you know, undermine him and get him out the door. He's happy to stay with some conditions around the success of the club moving forward. You know, he's really set a good benchmark there for making the first cut there, the first big cut against them, you know. And like I say, surely on the back of that today, something has to happen on the back of his comments, you know, to start the momentum for what we're trying to do on the floor, sort of thing, on the ground level.
But it just shows you how much we have put up with stuff, right? Peter Law, such a divisive character at Celtic, such a divisive, that he left the club and he got a big round of applause from a lot of people, and even guys like us who you saw the fucking bad he done along with he's good in terms of business, we still kind of went, right, he's gone, thank fuck for that, we can move on, we can heal the support, and within a year he's back, and he's back in, and it just showed you they didn't give a fuck about us. The Bernard Higgins. Remember that? Higgins get to fuck. Remember that, Jason?
Totally. Cut me to the bone.
It
was funny.
Uncle Bernard.
It was funny. I think it was me and our John and Pierce, or me and our John, Pierce and Ellie were sitting together. And they're not saying Higgins get to fuck. And the 4 is just fucking crease laughing. You know, and it's like, fuck's sake.
But stuff like that, you were employing somebody to bully your own support. There was no 2 ways about that. He was getting employed because he'll handle them. That's why he was getting employed. And that's garbage, isn't it? And like I said, they don't give a fuck about us. We are literally a fucking just there for the money. Gives your money shit. And then we honestly, we couldn't have fucking AI'd a better fucking statement than they made in terms of getting everybody on board. I mean, the story you're hearing for Jerry for the Irish Association, how they spoke to him in that meeting, just treating them like children.
Scott, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I don't know that everyone's kind of heard that part of the story. That'd be good to hear.
Right. So Jerry from the Irish Association, I believe Jerry's Scotland based. So he was asked by the Irish Association Celtic Supporters Club to go on their behalf to the meeting with Nicholson and the board and stuff last Friday morning. Would that be correct? Friday morning, I think. Yeah, Friday morning.
Friday, yeah.
The affiliation had been invited, but they wanted their own meeting, so they went themselves. So I believe they were after them. So you've got to remember, these guys have built up a rapport with these gentlemen. I'm doing the kind of quotation marks here. I know no use when fucking we can't see it on. But they've got relationships with the gentlemen, right? And there's allegations against it that they're too comfy with things. However, these guys are representing their clubs and their members, and they're doing so in good faith. And they went to that meeting and they asked the questions their members wanted. And Jerry says, I was stunned by some of the answers they were giving me. And no harm to Jerry. Jerry looks a bit long in the tooth for this game. I think he's seen a lot and done a lot. And for him to kind of sit there and go, I was stunned by some of their answers, shows you that they just don't care. So Jerry says, to prove how much a farce this meeting was, we brought up fan engagement and how they were so far removed at this point from fan engagement. And he says, Nicholson leaned over with a smile and says, do you know what, Jerry? I've got that on a notice board behind my seat, and I've got a sticker, and you know what it says on it? Tell this to the fans about fan engagement. And he says, I really need to do that. And he sat there and thought that was a good thing to say to somebody criticising him for not having any fan engagement. And
just mental.
Jerry's words were, we walked out that meeting, we looked at each other in absolute amazement and went, fuck this mob. And then the affiliation went in after, so they couldn't even tell each other that the meeting didn't go well, that they actually done the exact same to the affiliation. And they walked out and went, fuck this. So, I mean, since we've had the Disabled Celtic Supporters Association have come out and they've called it no confidence as well. How to make friends and influence people? Fucking hell. You couldn't even get one. Because I dare say a load of these guys who maybe have got friendships now with these same men still couldn't convince people that things were going right. So things are definitely wrong. And it was, do you know what? Having people who experienced that was great in the room, because it did solidify your own thoughts that these guys just don't give a fuck, just don't care.
I just think they're incompetent.
Yeah,
it's simple.
I think that's shooting.
Aye, they're just incompetent for what they're doing. Because let's face it, Celtic to make money in Scotland is a fucking open goal. You know, that mob went bust, liquidation. So you didn't really even have a challenge. We get Ronnie Dylan as a manager who was kind of learning the ropes, and still he couldn't fail. Do you know what I mean? And it was just, he was a good guy, likeable guy and everything, and we all kind of bought into it, but crowds were sparse, etc. But all they had to do was have a wee bit of insight, and then they got Rodgers in, and the fans come back in their droves, and everything was great, but we still done fuck all in Europe. And then he left, and then it was a bit of a fucking Lennon and all that, and just, but still the success came domestically, and they got away with it. And then it kind of went to shit, and you got Ange. Ange comes in, he pulls them out of hole, domestic success, hee-haw in Europe, but then they were universally loved again. And then we get Brendan back, and everybody's like an top-class manager. and then we do something in Europe, we do a wee smidgen in Europe, and you kind of see a wee chinky light at the end of the tunnel, and they just fucking kick you in the fucking heat and put you back under the water again and say, get the fuck, we're no interested. Or we haven't got a clue what to do next. And it's just fucking shambolic. It's fucking, they're no fit for purpose. They just aren't. You know, and look at clubs run about. I'm talking. Somebody made a point earlier, and fucking we've done it to death in here. But when I made the point about, I can't mind somebody in the chat earlier on, and we made the point about the League of Ireland maybe getting a better coefficient than us. Obviously, they're halfway through their season, and me and Liam were at the meeting, and I said to Peter Law, "Have you ever thought about summer football?" He looked at me as if I had two heats. Didn't he, Liam?
Yeah, he said, "What? We had the kind of 2-week break in the summer. That's never going to work. I mean, how outdated is that?"
He just fucking didn't get it. But Scottish football is an absolute basket case. If there's never been a better argument for Scottish football to go to summer football now, there never will be. We're the laughing stock of Europe. I mean, we've been to one European final since 1970 in 2003. That's it. So we haven't got a European pedigree whatsoever. So if Scottish football had to move, why don't they do like take out a 5-year lease and say we go to summer football for 5 years and let's see if it'll work? And surely you would have better results. Because you think about it, every Scottish team, apart from us and them, and to be honest with you, it's only really them, every Scottish team drastically fails in Europe every single season. It's disgraceful. We do nothing. The coefficient reflects exactly where we are in the European pecking order. Fucking, we must be what, I don't know, what teams, what countries are we similar with? They must be well below your Polands and all that. If you get the European coefficient handy, Scott, to see what countries like Scotland's on a par with.
Right, crack on, I'll get there.
I think we've been pretty strong, to be fair, in recent years, Jason, but probably not from our performances
only because of that lot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so,
it.
I mean, I think we've been 15 or 16, that sort of neck of the woods for a few years, but not for what we've delivered.
No, only them, but they two finals.
We dropped four since last year, so obviously that means that we get one Champions League place, one Europa League, 2 conference, 4 in total. We've dropped a place, obviously the Champions League place.
Does it tell you like a ranking, what countries, what their rank is? Is there any?
Right, so who's around us?
Aye.
So Switzerland in 16, Cyprus in 17, Scotland 18, Sweden 19.
Cyprus are above us.
Israel 20, Romania, Croatia, Hungary, Serbia, Slovakia. So, and then above Switzerland, once you get to 2, is Austria, Denmark, Poland, Norway.
So Denmark, Norway play summer football.
Greece, Czechia, and then you're into the big guns.
I mean, you're looking at the Czech Republic, better in Europe than us.
The Huns battered their fucking that Victoria Plitzen, didn't they?
I mean, it's unbelievable. We are an absolute laughing stock.
Our fucking, the way we are doing things is a shambles, man.
I mean, if Scottish football says, right, starting for next season, we're going to move to summer football. And there would need to be a transition year. I don't know how you would do it. You'd finish your normal season, but then you'd only have a 1 or 2 week break, and then you'd need to start again. But then it would work out. I don't know how you would do it. You might play a shorter season for the first year, and then the following year you would go into it and you would start the same as like when the League of Ireland or the Danish teams, etc., start the season. And when you think it, fucking we've been over this, I don't know how many times. It's an absolute fucking open goal. You've got Sky Sports, etc. You've got 6-7 weeks where there's no English Premiership. Imagine we're fucking playing Glasgow derbies and that during that period. Fucking gold mine. What you'd be able to get as a TV deal as well. I mean, and then what for the fan experience? How good would that be? Gone to the fit, but did one of them not turn around and say people go on the holidays in July?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said to you. Right, the question we asked was, have you done a feasibility study on Scotland, entertaining summer football? It wasn't like, have you decided to go straight to it? As any sort of business, have you done a feasibility study? And Lorwell's answer was, we have a 2-week, whatever you call it, factory shutdown or whatever.
Yeah, fortnight.
Yeah, so that's never going to work, right? Ever. And you're like, fucking, that was 30 years ago.
Aye, there's no factories left here.
That's the answer he gave.
I'll be honest, boys. I'll be honest. I'm still no sold on summer football. I accept. I think we're kind of going off topic anyway because, like I say, we'll keep on. I mean, I think we part that one for another day. And I'm not trying to.
No.
I just think we're sitting here talking about how we're underselling ourselves as a club. And I don't think you're going to get particularly the level of player you are that you want playing summer football, personally. But I am here to be convinced. I'm not fucking dead set. But as I say, I think that's an argument for another day. I think we finish off with Brendan chat because obviously Brendan, Liam spoke about it there. Brendan's he's kind of floating along on the back of everything mental that's happening, right? And I was, Jason, you were kind of one of the first ones in our group to say punt him. Yep. Ibrox, I was all ready for punting him. But in fairness, we took out, since February, we took out 12 goals from Kyogo, even though Kyogo wasn't playing, still scored 12 goals. And then we took out 21 goals from Nicholas Kuhn. And then for Ibrox, we took out another 20 goals from Adam Ida. And it's became apparent now that Kuhn, Maeda, Kyogo and Hatate have all been wanting moves away from the club from January this year, sorry. So they've all been wanting, and that's 4 of our 5 top goal scorers. I don't think there's many teams in the world you can take that from. Brendan Rodgers has been very critical and he's been very to the point in where we needed to strengthen. We didn't strengthen in any places, and in turn we had 2 0-0 draws, and we created very little. So, and then in turn we went to Ibrox and we created very little, and we defended well enough. So, with that said, and I've been very critical of Brendan Rodgers because you called him it, Jason. You said he's a elite level manager. I doubt that nowadays. I think his philosophy and the way he wants to play football is almost hurting us at this point. I think, the club have gave him, Negrin's a great player, but see, be honest, right, let's be honest with it. If Brendan Rodgers got 100% backing, we shouldn't have signed Kieran Tierney. We shouldn't have signed Negrin. We should have got guys who were going to come and fit his system into a T, and even the 2 wide guys looks like we've signed the same player twice rather than what we need. We've not signed what we needed for the team. Greg Taylor was playing a specific position. If we were talking about light for light and Craig Taylor's leaving, we should have got somebody who would fit that system, because we're certainly missing. Maeda's not playing well. Tierney's not playing well with Maeda. Tierney's not finishing games. We never get the full back we needed to back up Taylor, and now we've now got the full back to back up. So I mean, it goes back to the whole disconnect of Celtic scouting and Celtic manager, but however much you want to think that Brendan Rodgers should be doing well, and I do think so, I don't think we can say that he's been truly backed to be the best he can be. There's my counter argument.
But it doesn't excuse the performances in the qualifiers, Scott, or the performances against Rangers in the last game. Not at all. I mean, Rangers are conceding 20 shots a game before we played them.
You don't think take Nicholas Kuhn, Adam Ida.
It's a fact. It's a factor, but it doesn't excuse us not having a single shot on target in the first half against a team that's conceding 20 shots a game against teams with 10% of our budget.
Yeah, totally agree.
Not for a second, man. Honestly, the point being, right, he's been handicapped by that lack of transfer activity and selling his best players. Absolutely. What's he done? He's picked the same players in the same formation and played the exact same way all of those games. He's not done one tactical switch or player switch, or he's not done a single thing to try and ignite that team or override that situation, which a manager of that capability should be doing.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you still had Adam Ida before he left, and he scored 20 goals last season off the bench, scored big important goals for us. You could play to his strengths, tweak your system, give the guy the best chance to score, but he's just running about up there like a headless chicken. It does not change his setup. It doesn't, like, I did say he was an elite level manager, and he has proven against top quality teams like Atalanta away last year, Bayern Munich away, games at home in the Champions League and stuff like that. We played really, really well. We did have better players, but he is like a one-trick pony. He does not change. And as you say, Scott, you sign Kieran Tierney, and Kieran Tierney doesn't really fit into his system the way he wants to play. Doesn't invert, doesn't come inside. And, but the ironic thing is the defence is looking really good. Scales has been good. And that's obviously the injury of Alistair Johnson as well. But it's just, and I take it what you're meaning with Tunetke and Balik Schwar, how you pronunciation. Balik, so the two of them are the kind of same players, is that what you're saying?
This is what I'm hearing, right? I saw Balik Wisha once. Somebody summed it up. I can't remember what podcast it was because I've watched about 8 fucking million in the last week. But he said, do you know what he said? It was, do you remember when we played the Huns and big Narovki at Parkhead, and Narovki he was probably our best defender on the day, but he didn't do anything. He just defended. And every time we get the ball, he never tried to drive us up the park. He never played in. He just played a simple pass, get himself back in position. It was one of these safe performances. I'll do my job and I'm not doing anything else. Do you know what I mean? And
definitely against the Rangers.
I felt Balik Wisha was, I'm here, I'm not going to try anything mental. Whereas that day we're all going, go him, go at him, go at him, and he just wouldn't. But what I'm led to believe, Jason, is both of them are left-sided players who like cutting in the right. None of them are right-sided players. Do you know what I mean?
Two of them are doing as left wingers and transfer market. Anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Two of them are left wingers. So what are we doing? Because we need a right winger.
Well, the manager said to play both sides. He said that.
No, the manager says that.
Yeah.
See, like, and I know we're talking about Celtic geeks here, but the Celtic geeks have fucking access. That boy Alan, be the fucking, I can't even remember what podcast, Alan Morrison, I think his name. He's adamant, and your boy Quinny goes in. I think he's got that Y Scout or something because he puts up stats, and there's nothing to say that these guys like playing on the right hand side.
Yeah. Listen, we said earlier, Brendan was peak Brendan today, and he was amazing in that press conference, and I loved everything he said today. He was really direct, cute at the same time. Did all the good things he did, but he's completely sailing under the radar just now, based on the fact that Huns are shit and everyone hates the board. We need a big performance on Sunday from that team. We need to see some spark. We need to see some inventiveness. We need to see, what that team's capable of on Sunday. Because if we get another 2 shiters back to back on what we've seen recently, then he's not going to get much escape from the support either. So we need to see a massive improvement Sunday.
Could Big Killie be the man to solve their problems up front?
As I say, Jason, I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater of him at all. I think the situation might be wrong for him just now, but in terms of a player, I don't think it's a bad signing.
And he's done it in the past. He's maybe see the kind of guy we were talking about, Scott. I know he's only 28. He's no like over the hill, and but he obviously time at Man City. But like he has done it in the past, and he has been a player in the past, and this could be the spark that he needs.
He's had his best ever football under our manager, so
aye, Leicester.
Touchwood.
Aye, Jason, I think it's still Maeda. I think Maeda's still the hope for us. I know he's been down. I know he's been off form, right? And I called him out for that weeks ago, which you laughed at, right? But now the window's shut.
Jason, didn't he?
What's that?
I said you always like the wee digs at Jason, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. It gives me plenty with no substance up front. But,
no substance at all.
No, not at all. I'm always right, you know that. Come on.
I'm the homeboy spinning top here.
Yeah, I still think Maeda's. I still think he's the person to turn this round for us. I still think he's the spark. If his head's on it, he's the one. He's the most reliable one for us in that front line just now that can produce for us, I think, and can do what we need to do. The wingers could be the ones, but very unknown. But I still hope he's the one that can give us the spark there to turn the season around.
You would like to think, right? See, when it's out in the open now that everybody knows that he wanted to leave. So you would kind of think now that the transfer window's by. So the best thing he can do now is just fucking go at the wind now.
Exactly.
Until the January transfer window, get the best move possible.
Yeah, I think that's what we should be saying to him. We should be saying that to him.
Exactly. And it's
but to be honest, right, you're saying that's what we should be saying to him. By all accounts, we've been saying that to him for fucking ages.
Aye.
By all accounts, we've been saying to him, when the opportunity comes, you can go. He's already said, I had an agreement with the club. Marty told us he had his fucking locker empty. I agree with you. I think because of the culture and everything we know about the Japanese boys and all that, there's a bit of professionalism in them. However, if I was fucking him, I'd be like, you're a bunch of wankers, man.
Yeah. It's a Hail Mary again, Scott. It's a Hail Mary.
What about your man Jamal Simpson pussy? What about that for a sign? What's happening there?
Well, there it is, yeah. There's your info on the screen. Boyfriend Man City, boys on the team, maybe right back. and who knew we had an in the know guy in the chat, eh? Fucking brilliant, man.
That's a perfect time to get this wrapped up to fuck.
Right, we'll finish off with Kamal.
Who knows? What team are we going to put out or whatever? Fuck knows, man. See another one. See Casper Schmeichel. I'm kind of nearly done with him.
Well, that guy who's conceded one goal last season.
Scott, he wasn't playing, was he, when we conceded the goal?
He wasn't even playing, Jason. The boys don't concede the goal, man.
Do you know
Jason's fed up with him.
He's on a 0 all the season here. Come on.
See the fucking penalty shootouts. Honestly, God.
Well, we haven't got any of them to face in the league just now. So he's the least of our worries just now.
He is, but you know what?
He's cuddly. He's fat and cuddly, but he's the least of our worries just now.
Fucking hell, man.
I'm putting that up with see a mate of mine. He hates Scales, and Scales has had.
He's our player of the season so far.
Scales has had a great season, right? Defensively, I appreciate the frustrations about him leading our attack and all that. It frustrates me equally as much. But he's having, and every time I go, Scales your best player. Well, that sums it up, then, doesn't it? I was like, you can't just give him any credit that way. But Sunday, J-Bo, you going?
Yes.
Liam, you're no going, are you?
Well,
you're doing a boycott, I heard.
No, I'm trying to find. I'm flying to Birmingham at 8:00 on Sunday night, mate. So I'm trying to find a way to do this. I'm working on it in the background. Thanks to Jason. I'm working on it in the background.
All right, good. Well, so, but will you be joining in the 12-minute boycott, Jason? Will you be the 12th man?
I will be joining in 100% in the 12-minute boycott.
Fantastic, mate.
Fantastic. And I'll be canvassing every member of the Notre Dame CSC on the way down there to make sure everybody is joining in the 12-minute boycott. But at the end of the day, if people don't want to do it, they'll not be scabs. It's up to themselves. You know what I mean? But I would really hope that everybody that's attending, I know everybody won't. I know for a fact everybody won't. That's fair enough. But I would really hope the vast majority that are going will join in the 12-minute boycott. Because it's for the greater good. Celtic.
I do hope there's a wee bit of respect on both sides, as you say. Yeah. See if somebody's not going in, fair dues. I'll speak to you once we come in. And if you don't begin boys, dogs abuse because they give a fuck about their club, you know what I mean?
100%.
But I think we'll kind of just finish out. I mean, like, obviously we're not going fucking hammer and tong tonight. I think we'll wait till things get better, things get worse, and we can talk about Jason's holiday and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, like, I think it's fair to say Harper's the only one I don't know, but I would generally guess everyone else are ball deep, isn't it? Me, you, Marty, Liam, Joe, we're all headstrong. We're supporting in this. Harper
will be 100%.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for without.
I'll speak on his behalf.
You speak on his behalf, man. Fucking silly mates, cunt.
Yeah.
But right, team. Thank you very much. I mean, we've had happier podcasts, I think, but I think we'll just that'll do us for the door. So good luck on Sunday, man.
That's it. Hope your team wins. Are we doing any predictions?
Celtic win.
Is that it?
2-0 Celtic.
2-0. 4-0 Celtic.
Or 4 goals before we get in. We'll leave at half time because the game's done.
You know the rules.
2-goal rule.
Right, man. Have a fantastic weekend. Everybody that's kind of joined us in, thanks. Appreciated. Hopefully next one we're a wee bit happier. All right, team. Hell.
Cheers, boys. Take care. Bye.